Boom! We are live, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to the Life as a Chad YouTube channel. And I thank all of you for being here, wherever you may be. And of course, however you may be listening. I wanted to revisit today the Russell Brand story. And, to me, and I've talked about this very often on this channel, it is obvious what type of society we live in. And the way that you can tell and notice the type of society that is laid out is by a few things. One is by the people you cannot criticize. And everybody knows who those people are. I think one for sure that a lot of people are aware of would be the LGBTQT plus AI 96 group. That's one. I think women are in there in certain regards. And I definitely have a few other groups that I have in mind, but for YouTube purposes, I won't mention it. So that's definitely one. And with regards to the Russell Brand situation, you are seeing how the initial reaction, which is another way that you can tell the type of society and the norms that are trotted out, is you see the initial reactions and the vibes that are pushed out initially when something like this happens. Now, I've said from the moment that this story dropped, ultimately, I don't know the 100% the specifics behind the Russell Brand. I wasn't there. The court proceedings haven't happened, yada, yada, yada. But I do know the initial reactions that have taken place. Matter of fact, I saw a Paul Joseph Watson video, and I'm going to start using this website myself, where you can see the political leanings and the storylines in which these kind of sites attached and attributed to their political leanings, what stories they are promoting. And I've also said, I am not the biggest Russell Brand's fan there is. I'm not a fan of his at all. Matter of fact, this guy has been a liberal loser for much of his life. And for much of his life, he has been the exact opposite of what I think men should be and promote by and large. He was a guy who was heavily an environmentalist. Just to put it mildly, the guy was basically an NPC in many, many regards. He was a male feminist and things like that. But I believe, so regardless of my personal feelings about Russell Brand's and where he used to line up politically, albeit lately, he has definitely been very courageous. I will say that he's been courageous in some of the things he's been willing to discuss. For example, the COOF situation. There was a video that I saw like a week ago. This dude literally on the Bill Maher show, just totally ripped fact after fact after fact about who is profiting and who this, that, and the other. Okay. But specifically, I want to talk about the initial reactions, regardless of all of that kind of show the way a majority of the West and the people that are in power tend to lean when a story like this happens. And I am a fervent believer in innocent until proven guilty. Now, I'm not up to snuff when it comes to English common law. If I had to guess, England is very similar as American law is more or less based off of English law. But regardless, I live in America, and I am a big believer in that. And I also think that this just illustrates, we're going to go ahead and pull up an article here from Revolver News just to take a look, that this speaks to a larger issue in the West of powerful individuals being red pilled and awakened to the truth of things and coming forth very courageously about what is going on and being silenced. We have seen it. If you think about the past 5-10 years, just some names that I can rip off right off the top. You have Julian Assange. Okay. Now that one's a little dicey because, it depends on kind of what you hold more dear, the rule of the law or what he was doing. And, could he have technically broken this law or okay, maybe. But okay, Julian Assange, I still would count as one. Donald Trump, how they've come after him and tried to completely put him in the dirt and silence him and restrict him from holding any position of authority. You have Andrew Tate, and that is still unraveling. Now you have Russell Brand. So let's take a look at this article. 2 targets, 1 agenda, attacks on Russell Brand and the Sound of Freedom share one evil goal. Russell Brand is the latest target of the 15 Minutes of Hate. The entertainer and podcast host was accused of sexual misconduct by British media last week. The claims are several years old, and many of them lack any substantiation besides the word of the accuser. Comedian, actor, and social influencer Russell Brand is being accused of and denying GRAPE, sexual assault and abuse based on allegations from 4 women who knew him over a 7-year period at the height of his fame. In a report published September 16th, the Sunday Times, the Times of London Channel's 4 dispatches revealed the accusations, which included one woman alleging Brand her, while 3 others accused him of SA. Brand denied the allegations, maintaining all of his relationships have been consensual. London's Metropolitan Police announced Monday that they have opened a sex crimes investigation into Brand's. But that was enough to indict Brand in the public eye. Very true. Since the accusations aired, Brand's popular YouTube channel was demonetized. BBC deleted his program appearances. His talent agency dropped him, and his book publisher canceled his latest title. Some British lawmakers called on law enforcement in the UK and US to press charges against the Brand. London police are currently investigating at least one of the allegations. The actor strenuously denies those claims, but he's already been tried and convicted in the mainstream media. His guilt or innocent in court doesn't matter. The media says he's a blank. That rep will stick to him for the rest of his life. Brand is the latest example of how leftists weaponize Me Too allegations against their enemies. So I want to stop it here and talk about that because there's a couple things at play here. Number one, okay, you always hear leftists, especially when it comes to defending Me Too and women who step forth. They come at it from the perspective of like being all in on certain numbers and things of that nature. And they kind of lean towards the believe women at all costs, no matter what, all the time, regardless, because the alternative is worse. And you have to do that. And it's just really too bad because, much of Western society, especially men, the more and more and more disenfranchised men, completely disenfranchised from the West, lacking purpose, lacking connection, lacking a sort of respect for the sex and appreciation. Okay, I'm not talking about like kissing ass, but an appreciation like people showed the military, thank you type thing. And it's just really too bad because when there are real cases men in the West are far less likely to buy into it these days because we have seen time and time again, Duke lacrosse, Virginia lacrosse. I think it was Duke and Virginia lacrosse. We have seen it time and time again, how the left and women weaponize their sexuality and things having to do with it. And it completely true or untrue, completely destroys these individuals' lives. And the only way you have any chance in hell of getting out of this in a positive regard, if the allegations are not true, is if you have a shit ton, wads and wads of shit money. Just a shit ton of money, which most of society does not have. And that's the other thing, is it's like, if this is what happens to Russell Brand or Johnny Depp or fucking, people who actually have things going for them in a very substantial way, what chance do the rest of us have when it comes to shit like this? And this is just another way that the West continues to push men towards the brink, and why men continue to just push and push away from being a part of society and assisting society in any meaningful way. My next point, which I already touched upon it, is, we live in a Western society that in the West, you have all of these things that are purported. It's a magic trick. It's an illusion. It's like Koof and various other topics, LGBT, trans, you name it, where it's an illusion of where we all fucking know it's bullshit and it's nonsense and it's a lie. But because of stigma and being afraid of being canceled and your life being ruined and totally being fucked, nobody says anything. But we all know it's a lie. We all know it's made up and it's bullshit and it's nonsense. Okay. When it comes to this and society pushing this fake narrative, this lie of men and women being completely equal and being the exact same. And when I say the word equal, I mean being the same with the exact same qualities and strengths and weaknesses and shit like that. They always say that, they try and get women to believe that they're just like men and they can have sex just like men, and they can fuck any guy they want and they don't need a man. They can date around and be boss babes and be whores and this and that, and it's no problem because you're the same as a man. You're the exact same. But then in regards like this story, women are very quick to weaponize their sexuality in ways men would never do. We see that with OnlyFans. We see on Fresh and Fit and these other podcasts where these women go on there and say that, they're the same as men and have the exact same strengths and weaknesses, yada, yada, yada. And then Myron or these various other red pillars point out, well, okay, well, then how come you get to get into a club for free immediately and you don't have to wait in the line? How come you are able to sell feet pics and toenail pics, or you farting on OnlyFans and make tons of money? Can men do that? Of course not, because we're not the same. God has made men and women different for a reason, because where men strive, women complement, and where women strive, men complement that as well. Now, I'm not a complete complementarian, but men and women are stronger together. We're not, that doesn't mean we're the same, or we are equal in the eyes of God. Well, to a certain extent. Okay. I still do believe in the order of things, God above man, man above women, and women above children. But in the way God judges us and sees it, he sees us all as his children. Okay. But here on earth, and on a sinful earth, and where everything is not perfect, God has given us a nature and qualities and strengths and weaknesses. And it's just fascinating to see how quickly women will weaponize sex in a way that men would never do. And you look around at the society at large, and at least 70% of the media believes it immediately. And it's very funny because it's the same media that was all over Brand's nuts when he was, talking about this topic or this topic, when he was their prized pupil of liberal qualities. Now they just throw him out with like yesterday's garbage. Kind of like what they did with Trump. Brand is the latest example of how leftists weaponize Me Too allegations against their enemies. The Get Him to the Greek Star became the focus of this media investigation in 2019. By that time, he had established himself as someone outside of the normal confines of the left. He continued to demonstrate his lack of deference to liberal orthodoxy over the last few years. He criticized the globalist war in Ukraine. Great. Questioned the COVID vaccine, attacked draconian COVID restrictions, and enthusiastically supported Tucker Carlson. I want to make a point on this. Increasingly, the left is becoming the party of NPCs and the kind of mainstream, the status quo, the support the next thing type thing. Support Ukraine, support, all this shit. Whereas on the right, now, I'm not saying we're perfect, okay, but we increasingly are the opposite, where far more than the left, we seek truth, and even if there's negative consequences to it. Several British media outlets lamented how they had lost Brand to the right prior to the allegations. The Guardian argued in March that Brand helps fascism with his conspiracy content. Conspiracism is fascism's fuel. Almost all successful conspiracy theories originate with or land with the far right. I'm not suggesting for 1 minute that Brand is sympathetic to fascism, but his videos are likely to assist its spread. As for his own politics, while he claims to have transcended left and right, I see a clear rightward shift. He concentrates his fire on centrists, Biden, Pelosi, Hillary Clinton, Trudeau, while appearing to support Trump. He extols Trump's virality, which he contrasts with Biden's senility. These same outlets now gleefully cheer on Brand's demise at the hands of Me Too accusations. The alleged victims in the story said they came forward due to Brand's new reputation, not because they suddenly decided what he did was wrong. Wow, that's very telling right there. That's very fucking telling. And see, that's the difference between someone like me and someone like the, people like these women, because someone like me, wrong is always wrong. Okay. If I see something wrong, regardless of any new context that is surrounding said wrong thing, I'm still going to point out said wrong thing. These women, though, when he was this leftist soy boy goofball, apparently his GRAPE was okay. How does that make any sense? But now, because of his new political metamorphosis, it's not. Cringe, brah. Me Too is one of the left's most powerful weapons, and no one is safe from it. Conservatives initially cheered on Me Too as a way to bring down powerful liberals. While early targets included Hollywood bigwigs and a few elected Democrats, Me Too has proven more potent against the right. Brett Kavanaugh proved this. Liberals almost derailed his Supreme Court nomination with the most spurious allegations imaginable. And none of the three accusers face consequences for their false claims, not even the one who admitted she made it up. The press still treats Kavanaugh's primary accuser, Christine Blasey Ford, with absolute reverence. Ford is set to publish a memoir next year. It's guaranteed the media will fall over themselves to positively smell her farts and review once again smear Kavanaugh as a grapist. The false allegation is still true, according to journalists. Congressman Matt Gaetz recently faced his own Me Too ordeal. He was accused of being involved in the trafficking of a minor. The media rushed to declare Gaetz an ophile in this case. After a thorough investigation, the Department of Justice didn't even file charges against the Florida congressman, but the allegations have their effect, and Gaetz is forever tarnished by the media's verdict. The last thing, this article also, this is a great article. It also goes into the movie that I reviewed, The Sound of Freedom, and how, the media tried to take down The Sound of Freedom. And it just shows, like, there's clearly one side that is for good, and there's clearly one side that is not. And, folks, I hate to say it, but there is evil in this world. And, when I was younger, I used to, just kind of think that, people were just wrong, and it wasn't necessarily evil, and but they just had the wrong opinion. But as I get older, no. When you're an adult and you still believe certain nonsense, no, I'm much more okay and willing to categorize it as evil. And folks, our backs are against the wall. Okay. We are fighting for our lives and our kids' lives. Okay. We can no longer sit idly by and say, well, God told me not to judge. No. When you see evil, you must call it out for what it is. When you see wrongdoing, you need to call it out for exactly what it is. But the last thing I wanted to say on this, great article on the Revolver. 2 targets, 1 agenda, attacks on Russell Brand and The Sound of Freedom share one evil goal. Is that I think that as conservatives, because if we don't do this, it will have drastic consequences. And this story really speaks to many, many, many different things. It speaks to how, by the rule of law since the 1960s, we're supposed to be equal, but how women are still treated with reverence, and they're equal, but also have things that only apply to them, that they get away with. And whether it come to prison sentences, committing crimes and having less harsh sentences and shit like that, whether it be that or other things. I mean, there's just tons of things to point out in this story. Women do currently, they are afforded the ability to be equal when it doesn't benefit them. And when it does benefit them, they are able to afford privileges that men are not given. And so the courts, divorce courts, marriage court, and just intersexual dynamics, the law needs to catch up, because if we're going to remain equal under the law, it needs to start being equal. I'm talking social services. I'm talking about fucking everything. Now, you asked me, is that what I want? By and large, no. In my society, there would be no equal under the law because we're not. We're not. The fact is, men are judged by different criteria and rule points and regulations than women are. Always have been. But the last thing I wanted to point out, though, is since we do live in this society, the next thing that needs to be pushed from our lawmakers that we put into office is to have some sort of punishment for fake allegations that are proved to be demonstrably false. Because if we don't get that, it's just another example of this country completely going by the wayside. And this is why I always say, folks, the only way we will get change is three ways: calling out evil and wrongdoings; two, seeking office and places of authority and things like that, to put forth our Christian ideals and of what is right and what is wrong. And three, have kids. And those are all biblical principles in one way or shape or another. I mean, there's probably more than three, but those would be the three main things: call out wrong and evil doing, have kids in no particular order, and three, get into positions of authority. Because the way it's going, our backs are against the wall, folks. And I'm not saying Russell Brand speaks for all of us. Okay, he does not. But shit. All right, guys, that's going to do it. I just wanted to react to the story a little bit more. We'll see what happens. I think Russell is fucked. I think he will be lucky to make it out of this unscathed. Now, on the flip side, I think he will either be completely fucked or he will become even more popular if he's able to beat this. So we'll see what happens. I just wanted to thank all of you guys who have subbed to this channel. I want to thank Andrew Wilson. He has been a tremendous help in helping grow this channel. And, as conservatives and traditional folks, this goes to anybody on YouTube and things like that. We need to support one another. We really, really do, because we have way bigger problems to worry about than not supporting one another. So I just want to thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. I'm going to continue this for as long as I can. And just thank you. Last but not least, DBAP, don't be a pussy willow, and facts are feelings, because your feelings just don't matter. Be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe. Christ is King. See you guys next time. Peace.